Nanea Chapter 16, Talking Story. On Monday, Nanea found Mom on the telephone. That wasn't unusual. She was often on the phone these days with Red Cross business. But this time, Nanea overheard her own name. "I'm certain that could be arranged," Mom nodded. "Yes, that'll be fine. I'll tell her. Thank you, Miss Allen." Mom hung up. That was Winifred Allen, a reporter at the Star Bulletin, calling about the bottle drive. "She wants to interview you and take your picture for the newspaper." Mom brushed some hair out of Nanea's face. "I am so proud of you." Nanea felt proud too. "Miss Allen asked that you bring the other girls along. 2 o'clock this Thursday, January 29th, at the Red Cross Center." Nanea raced to Lily's house with a huge smile on her face. "What's going on?" Lily asked as Nanea pulled her off the front porch. All Nanea would say was, "I'll tell you at Donna's." Nanea and Lily were out of breath by the time they knocked on the Hills' front door. No one came. Nanea knocked again. Finally, Miss Hill answered. "Oh, girls," she said. Her voice was so sad. "You are just the medicine Donna needs." Mrs. Hill stepped aside so Nanea and Lily could come in, and Nanea saw that the living room was full of cardboard boxes. One was packed with pots and pans, one with towels, and several with clothes. "What are all these boxes?" Nanea asked. Mrs. Hill sighed. "We got some difficult news today." Nanea's heart stopped. Mrs. Hill picked up a blanket, folding it into a neat square. "We have to leave Honolulu. Leave Oahu." She placed the blanket in one of the boxes. "We're shipping out with all the other non-essentials." "No!" Nanea cried. Not after all that she'd done to show that Donna was essential. Nanea grabbed Lily's hand and ran to Donna's room. Donna was slumped on the floor, a box of tissues in her lap. "I told you," she said. "I told you it would happen." Tears dripping down her face. Nanea fought tears of her own. Donna was essential. What about helping Auntie Rose with the camouflage nets? And collecting all those bottles? "I thought it was a dumb old rumor," Lily said. "But it's not," Donna sniffled. "It's not." She grabbed a handful of tissues. Lily and Nanea grabbed some too. The girls sat together, sniffling. Finally, Nanea had to ask the horrible question. "When do you have to leave?" "We don't know for sure," Donna whispered. "They'll only give us 24 hours' notice." Donna's heart sank like a stone tossed into the surf. "One day?" Lily asked in a small voice. Nanea thought about the news she had planned to share. She told Donna and Lily about the photograph for the newspaper. "It's on Thursday," she said. "Maybe I'll still be here," Donna said hopefully. Nanea closed her eyes. "Donna has to be here for the photo," she told herself. "She just has to." When Nanea got home, Papa was reading the paper in the living room. "That's the biggest storm cloud I've ever seen on your face," he said. He put the newspaper down. "What's up?" Nanea sat on the sofa next to him, her elbows on her knees, chin in her hands. "Donna and Mrs. Hill have to leave, but they don't know when," she said. "It could even be tomorrow." Papa shook his head. "Because of that order about non-essential personnel," he said. Nanea nodded. "But Papa, Donna is essential. I came up with a plan to prove it." She described to him everything that they had done. "It's not fair," Nanea started to cry. Papa gave Nanea his handkerchief. "You're right. It's not fair. You have done so much to help the war effort. So has Donna. You did all the right things." He sighed. "But, honey, no amount of good deeds could have kept Donna here. The Army is trying to keep the island safe. They've made this decision for the good of all." The decision didn't feel very good to Nanea. "I know I've been gone a lot, but I've noticed a change in you." Papa put his arm around Nanea's shoulder. "I see you thinking first, and then acting wisely. And you've certainly made sacrifices." Nanea sniffled and wiped her eyes. Papa squeezed her 2 times. "Buddies forever." "You're not the baby of the family anymore," he said. Just a few weeks ago, those words would have made Nanea so happy. But now she understood why Mom had told her not to be in a hurry to grow up. There was no going back. "Over here, girls." The photographer waved his hand above his head. "Look at me. One more shot." "Okay, that's a wrap." The photographer started to put his equipment away. "Unless you need anything else, Gwen." Miss Allen shook her head. She looked more like a movie star than a reporter. She wore her dark hair swept back into a fancy chignon style. A pearl necklace encircled her long, elegant neck. She led Nanea away from her friends to a quiet corner of the room for the interview. "What inspired you to start this bottle drive?" Miss Allen asked, her pencil poised over a slim notepad. Nanea told her about David's experience at the hospital in the days after the attack. She also told Miss Allen how her hula school danced at the USO to cheer up soldiers. "But I wanted to do something different, something more to help." "You and your friends have collected 1,500 bottles so far. That will help a lot of people." Miss Allen looked up from her notepad and smiled. "I bet you will even inspire more people to pitch in. I guess it's true when they say a little child shall lead them." Nanea smiled weakly and nodded. Miss Allen studied Nanea's face. "You don't look very happy about that." "Oh, I am," Nanea replied. "Really." Miss Allen waited for a patient expression. "I'm sad about something else," Nanea confessed. "My friend has to leave Hawaii." Nanea couldn't stop the tears from trickling down her face. "The government says she's non-essential, but she's not non-essential to me." Miss Allen wrote something on her notepad. "So much has changed since December 7th, she said, "for everyone. But I think this war has been toughest on you kids." "I'm sorry." Nanea nodded, wiping her cheek. "Thank you for trusting me with your story," Miss Allen said. She stood up and shook Nanea's hand. Nanea walked back over to Donna and Lily. For a moment, no one said anything, and then Donna reached into her pocket. "Anyone want a piece of gum?" she asked. "I do." Lily held out her hand. Nanea sighed. "Me too."